Hey there, I'm Sully, and welcome to the Gun Club. I'm going to get a little hell for this. And folks, I understand. I'll take it because this kind of pissed me off this last week or so because we've had some major league media malpractice going on in our country. And it's causing a major problem in our country. And unfortunately, some of the political talking heads are buying into the crap that's going on. But even more so than the political talking heads are buying into it, Hollywood has bought into it. Some of the actors have bought into it. Some of the public, the pro sports gurus, which why I need a pro sports enthusiast or a pro sports athlete. Yeah, I'm not trying to tell them how to run their football team or their baseball team or their basketball team. They probably don't need to tell me what we need to do about guns. They're not legislators. They're not firearm experts. They're not instructors. They don't teach legals. They don't research this stuff. They can go watch game films. I watch these game films. So, but yeah, they've all sort of voiced their opinion because they all know something or think they do. And that's kind of the dangerous part. Now, okay, might as well deep dive this one. Are we ready? As I'm sure you've heard of in the last week or so, unless you were living underneath a rock, on the night of April 13th in Kansas City, Missouri, there was a young 16-year-old gentleman who was shot by an 84-year-old homeowner. The teenager had been sent to pick up his younger siblings by his mother. He went to the wrong house. It was a street difference, whether it was like 115th Street or Terrace or Place or something. He went to the wrong house. He was a block away from where he was supposed to be. Well, he goes up to the house, either rings the doorbell, knocks on the door, and ends up getting shot. Now, I jumped a clip there. He rings the doorbell, he gets shot. We know those two things happened. We don't know what happened in between the whole thing. If you listen to the story of the 84-year-old neighbor or the 84-year-old resident, he woke up from a sound sleep. Someone was ringing his doorbell or knocking on his door. He went to the door, and the gentleman, as he opened the inside door, the 16-year-old, who's about 5'8", is trying to pull on the screen door using something pulling on the handle of the screen door, the storm door. Okay. There's questions here. First of all, to the best of my knowledge right now, the 16-year-old gentleman did absolutely nothing wrong. He was sent to this location, or what he believed was this location, by his mother to pick up his younger siblings. So he went to the location he thought was right. He goes up and rings the doorbell. Now, the 84-year-old man, he wakes up from a sound sleep. He's not expecting anyone. It's after 10 o'clock at night or close to 10 o'clock at night. Someone's at his door. He goes downstairs or goes to the door, and for whatever reason, he decided to shoot. For some reason, he felt so threatened, he pulls out a .32 caliber revolver and fires 2 shots. The first of which strikes the 16-year-old in the head, and then the second one strikes him in the arm when he's down. Okay, the shot when he's down, not really a big fan of that one. The kid, what had he done? I don't know. Was he just there picking up the siblings? Life is good and there's nothing going on. Okay, fine, I'll buy that. Or does he get there? He's in a hurry and he rings the doorbell a couple of times. He knocks. How long does it take an 84-year-old to wake up and get to the door? That's always a question that's, worthwhile to ask. I don't know. I wasn't there. None of us were there. You weren't there. I'm going through this case as wide open until there are some facts come out. I'm going to try to look at it from both sides. I'm an 84-year-old homeowner. Wake up, Someone's banging on the door, someone's knocking on the door, someone's ringing the doorbell, whatever. I get the gun to go to answer the door. I'm not expecting anyone. I don't know what kind of neighborhood this is, what kind of burglaries have been going on, what's happened the week before. I don't know if he was watching, Murder, She Wrote on Fox News. I don't know. What we do know is the 16-year-old ostensibly was not there to break in or do anyone any harm, was not doing anything wrong, illegal, immoral, or otherwise unwise, and he gets shot. Okay. Fortunately, the 16-year-old is, okay. He did suffer some injuries, but he survived it and will survive it intact. Definitely glad for that. Now, the young man, again, 16-year-old, from everything I've read, seems like a good kid. He plays in the orchestra, is apparently quite talented. Supposed to be going to college for music. More power to him. I hope this doesn't do anything to derail his dreams or cause him any grief. The 84-year-old, if this is his first time ever doing anything or being in trouble with the law, and there's not anything more to it than this, now, here's where the media malpractice comes in. Again, if you're familiar with the case, you know that the 16-year-old young man is of African American descent or a person of color. The gentleman who shot him, the 84-year-old old guy, he's a whitey like me. Okay. Now, that being said, the media has gone out ringing a doorbell while black gets you shot in the face. Well, okay, technically, I guess you could say that happened. We don't know if that's exactly how it went down. We don't know 100% of anything. Can we not let the facts come out first? Now, again, this gentleman, I don't know him. I don't know the young man. Let's say the young man was absolutely perfect, A+, no problem, anything he did. For some reason, this older gentleman was startled. A strange person appears on the front doorstep. He opens the inner door, and the young man says, "Pardon me, sir, I'm here to pick up my twin brothers." And he just shoots him. That doesn't pass the make sense test. Is the guy half awake? Is the guy sleepy? Is the guy maybe a little bit slow on the uptake? I don't know. But even if he's a little bit slow or a little bit sleepy or maybe not what he once was, there's a Toby Keith song about that. Why did it have to become a racial, national story? The White House has gotten involved and invited the 16-year-old to come and speak, to come meet with the president. The vice president is all over this. The media has blown this all up over proportion. This is a tragic situation. Yes, it happened. Now, if it turns out, once it's investigated by legitimate investigation and legitimate people, and it comes out that, oh yeah, this guy's got, 14 hard drives of the good old days with all the stuff he did when he was with the Klan down in Missouri. Okay, maybe this guy is a screaming racist. Maybe. But until there's some evidence to prove it, why do we have to jump to that's the first thing that's all across 90% of the media reports? How an 84-year-old man gunned down a 16-year-old kid for just ringing the doorbell. One media rep said, well, I don't feel safe with this man on the street because I don't know what door he's behind and what black person he's going to shoot next. Well, if he's lived 84 years, he's never shot anyone to my knowledge, and I've looked. Never had any problems with the law to my knowledge, and I looked. Could we assume that people make stupid mistakes, have accidents, if they're half awake? We teach the personal self-defense and personal home protection plan, and one of my lines in there is, the reason you have a plan is because you don't make really good decisions when you've been woke up within the last minute and you're trying to decide whether you're under attack or not. Now, the guy may have made a really stupid, shitty, crappy decision, and he should be held responsible for that. I'm not going to call him a racist until I've got some proof of that. We cannot look for everything and say, well, it's racism until you can prove it otherwise, because you can never prove it otherwise. This poor man is now, nationally been threatened. There have been national activists that say, we've got his address and it'll be good for everyone if he's charged. That's a threat. That is a threat. If he's not charged, we've got his address. That's a threat. I'll say this. If, hypothetically, the roles were reversed and it had been a white kid who went to pick up his younger brothers and a black guy, 70, 80-year-old vet, says, man, there's a strange man at my door. He's knocking on the door. Maybe the kid's, knocking loudly. I don't know. We don't know. We weren't there. And this guy goes up and opens the door. Hey, what do you want? And he's got a gun. Would we all talk about how the black man attacked the white kid? Don't think so. This has made national political news and been all over the place. And the number one reason is media malpractice. Every single media station needs to come out and say really simply, we know some of the facts as far as what happened. Kid went to the house. It's the wrong house. Guy answers the door with a gun, fires 2 rounds. Kid shot. Fortunately, the kid's going to survive. Right now, we don't know anything about why this happened, and it's too early to say racism or Alzheimer's or sleepy or stupid move or whatever. It's too early to say anything, and we're not doing justice for anyone if it is. If we say it now, if we claim it now. Folks, I got news for you. I've looked at the mugshots of the kids arrested in that Alabama shooting. The vast majority of the victims were of African American descent, persons of color, as were the shooters. So honestly, clearly that has nothing to do with race or anything else. We've got 4 dead and 30-something injured. Would we say that those 6 would be representative of life in America these days? Would we take that story, make it a national story, and say this is what happens with a group of young men like this? These young men, what did Hillary Clinton call them? Predators at one point. I think that was Hillary Clinton's line. But we're going to take this 84-year-old man, threaten him, publicly post threats on Twitter and everything else about, it's best that he better be charged or else. You know what's going to happen. Folks, this ain't getting anyone anywhere. If we're trying to heal a divide in this country, that ain't the way to do it. If we're trying to work together in this country, that ain't the way to do it. And unfortunately, the media, led by certain people, and I'm going to say one certain CNN idiot who got pulled off the night shift and put on day shift, y'all can figure out who I'm talking about. He was out there talking about, well, I just don't know what door this man's going to be behind next, shooting at black people. What? The man's been alive 84 years. This is the first run-in of law, any kind. And you come out, if that's the most intelligent thing you come out with, no wonder you lost your show, you jackass. Yeah, I'm in rant mode on this. Because it's going to tear our country, all of our country, apart. Want a race war? Keep going. This is how it happens. And I'll prove to you the media's malpractice and complicity in trying to fuel a freaking race war in this country. Let's check out the next story, shall we? Y'all might think, you know the one? Yeah. Upstate New York, 2 days later, a 20-year-old is shot by an 84-year-old homeowner. Or excuse me, he was about 50-something. I've got that wrong in there. Sorry, I screwed the pooch. He was shot by a 53, 56-year-old homeowner. Now, she was in a car that was among a group of cars. They went down a private driveway to a house. It was about an eighth to a quarter of a mile off the roadway. There was a group of people, and they were looking for a friend's house that was supposed to be having a party. Went down a driveway in rural New York, upstate New York. 50-something-year-old guy, 60-something-year-old guy comes out on a patio. Now, the patio is actually an elevated patio, like off the ground, basically second-story patio. And he discharges 2 rounds from a firearm into the cars. Now, this young lady never got out of the car. No one in their group got out of the car. 3 vehicles going down the driveway. They said, man, this doesn't look like it. They're turning around. They're heading back the other way. He lets off 2 rounds. One of them strikes and kills this young lady. She died. She gone to the morgue. 20-year-old. Shot in a car. Shooter has been charged with second-degree murder. Okay. He openly admits he fired from up there. Now, let's look at this. Is there any way that this could be considered self-defense or defense of others or protecting his property? When someone has not gotten out of the car and they're way down there and I'm up here on the second floor porch, no, that's not anywhere near a snowball's chance of being a clean shoot. Now, everyone in all this totally is white. So we can't have a racial motive. And so this story barely made the news in the early part of the week. Yet it happened a day or 2 days after the other one. How do we have 2 shootings that occur, both youngster, wrong place, wrong time? The 16-year-old, fortunately, he's physically okay. I'm sure he's traumatized, but he's physically okay, home with his family, doing his best to come to terms with what he went through. And I'm sure it was awful. I'm not trying to diminish it. We've got this 20-year-old shot dead, gone to the morgue. This should be the big story. This one, there's no question that she did nothing. She just drove down a driveway. She was riding in the car driven by her boyfriend, going down a driveway. They turn around and get shot. This person is not 2-3 feet away at a doorway entrance where there is kind of potential to be a little bit alarmed or threatened by someone. This guy's standing up on a second floor porch. The media should be vilifying and frying this guy. And again, he's not 84. I'm sorry for the slide. Oops on that one. That should be where the attention goes. Kaylin Gillis died. A 20-year-old girl died needlessly because of some complete, utter, frickin' dumbass move, squeezing off shots at a car while up on a second floor balcony. No, that's not even remotely a chance of there being a legit shooting. The other one, depending on specifics, and we don't know, and we're in a questioning point, and the media is trying to sort it out. Now, the gentleman in the previous case has been arrested and charged. It's not a murder charge because fortunately the young man survived. I'm just saying let's give him a little bit of grace as far as why he could have possibly, is there any way he could have possibly felt justified? No, this guy has no choice to ever, no possibility he could ever feel justified. This one is the one that should never happen. But this one really can't be used to demonize someone. We can't talk about how this young lady, for simply existing while white in this country, was gunned down and robbed of her life by a psycho gunman. No, because he's white too, and we can't do that. This can't be used to fuel a racial war, and so we, mention it 5 times a day while CNN's mentioning the other one 50 times a day. Yeah. These both stories should be pretty well known, pretty popularized out there. Because after all, you can't use it to fuel your narrative, so you just gloss over it. Now I get another one. Austin, Texas. These group of young ladies, carload, come back to H-E-B grocery store. Now, the H-E-B is a rather large parking lot, from what I understand, and frequently people who are going places will leave their vehicles there and meet and carpool with other people, saving on gas money, saving on wear and tear on vehicles, etc. Well, they get back to their vehicles at the end of the day. They had been going, I think, to a cheerleading camp or competition or something. And these young ladies, so again, high school seniors, college freshmen, general age group of them, in the grocery store parking lot, they pull up at the wrong vehicle. Girl walks over, opens the door on what she thinks is her vehicle. Gentleman jumps out of the vehicle. He's sitting in the passenger side. It's not her vehicle. It's his vehicle. He opens fire, striking her and one of her friends. She's still in the ICU. Her spleen has been removed. Her diaphragm has been damaged, as has her pancreas. Her belly is still open, got a wound back on it, all sorts of good stuff like that. The shooter then flees the scene and ends up having to be tracked down by the PD. They were able to get a license plate reader or a camera or something and get information on the car, and that was how they were able to figure out what the deal was with the car and go to his residence, and he's been charged with deadly conduct. Now, have you heard about this story? 2 cheerleaders accidentally went to the wrong car door. They put their hand on the handle. Both get shot. Apparently they startled someone with a gun. Now, why are we not hearing about this? Oh, by the way, the gentleman who did the shooting, apparently Hispanic in background. Not sure. But based on the name, I would tend to suggest that it is. Now, this, we'd say, okay, horrible accidental mistake. It's awful. I look at every one of the media reports. There is nothing on there demonizing him. Yes, he's been arrested and charged because he did something stupid with a gun. We get that. Yes, the police had to track him down. So now my next question is, the 84-year-old guy who accidentally shot the 16-year-old, he called 911 and said, I think someone just tried to break into my house. He's there. He cooperates with the police. He gives some statements. He does everything. This guy, after the shooting, jumps in the car and takes off. If you feel that strongly about you were doing the right thing in self-defense, you usually don't take off and run. Now, if there's a mob scene, whatever, okay. There wasn't. Was he afraid what? The other cheerleaders, were they going to pom-pom him? What? Were they going to chant? I mean, I don't know. My point is, this another story. Very, very similar fact series to what happened with the young 16-year-old gentleman. An accident, a miscommunication, I went to the wrong door, I startled them, they had a gun, they had no reason to shoot, they perceived they were under attack. And again, you don't have to correctly perceive it. Remember, in self-defense law, if you're not familiar, you definitely need to go spend a lot of time after you watch this video, go check in with Mr. Bronca. But think about the fact of maybe if you perceive you're under attack, you're justified in using deadly force as long as your perception is reasonable. It doesn't have to be correct. You don't have to be correct when you protect yourself, utilize deadly force. You have to be reasonably. For example, someone comes at you, they've got a toy gun, but it's painted all black and it looks very much like the real thing. They're waving it around. You look at that thing and you think it's real. Your perception is objectively reasonable, so you respond and you shoot them because they're pointing a gun at you. It later comes up, but it was just a toy. You didn't do wrong. Your perception was objectively reasonable. Think about that's how many cases have gone in the past, where people with toy guns, airsoft guns, different things like that, have been shot and killed. It's awful, but it's lawful. This one, 2 cheerleaders go to get in a car, and this guy shoots them. So, again, we're not hearing about it. It's really quiet. I don't know why. because the media can't use it to fuel a damn race war. You know, what would they do? How would the media use this to their advantage? I mean, I guess, I don't know this gentleman, what country he's from, if he's, local in the area or anything else. We could get into something as to whether he's legal carrier or something, if the gun's legal, what his history is. We could try to do something there, but yeah, it doesn't fit the narrative. So the young lady who's laying in the hospital with her belly still open, lost her spleen, diaphragm, and everything else, Kamala Harris hasn't called her or checked in on her. Nor is Joe Biden. I guess he's out for ice cream. But that other one, they can use that to fuel a race war, so they're going to put it on the national spotlight. And unfortunately, they're going to keep going until they get what they want, and then they're not going to know what the hell they want. But, que sera, sera. Next case. Here's a good one. How many people have heard about this one? Occurred on the same day last week. 2 adults and a 6-year-old shot by their neighbor. Not very neighborly, if you ask me. I've got much nicer freaking neighbors than these guys. Families outside, they're playing in their yard. The basketball goes into the neighbor's yard. Kids go over to get it. As they're coming over to get it, man exits the house and opens fire on them. 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. Daylight out. Nowhere near his house. And what happens? He opens fire on them. We have a 6-year-old catches a round to the face. Her daddy gets one in the back. A class action guy in the back, right? Another male is wounded. Mom gets hit with a ricochet. And, who knows? I don't know what happened. I don't know the history of it. I don't know any bad blood. But my point is, you get these white family here shot. But, did I not mention the neighbor's African-American descent, person of color? So, a person of color, African-American descent, opens fire on a 6-year-old, shoots her father in the back, then takes off, was on the road for 2 days, finally turned himself in down in Florida. He's charged with multiple counts of attempted murder, assault with a deadly weapon. Folks, why isn't this national news? The child has stitches in her cheek. Her dad's still in the hospital, last I heard. She did an interview with her grandfather, and it just literally breaks your heart when she's saying, I hope my daddy's okay. Why did he shoot my daddy? People shouldn't shoot kids' daddies. This isn't national news. This one's up quick, brush that one under the rug. It doesn't fit. But we're going to take that first one that happened in Missouri. We're going to make that national news because we can talk about just merely existing while black. What are we doing for this family? They were existing while white. They were playing in their front yard and the ball rolled into the neighbor's yard. Was the 6-year-old that much of a perceived threat? This guy did it. He did the shooting. He's, again, turned himself in down in Florida. He, again, if you, as a firearms holder, I'm going to say it, hope right now I'm never involved in a lethal force encounter where I need to deploy my firearm. But if I am, especially if I am at the point that, I've deployed my firearm at my own home and had to discharge it, packing my stuff and running for Florida before the cops get there is not what I'm going to be doing. That's not the actions of an innocent mind. Maybe panicked, maybe stupid, maybe I don't know what, but sure as hell not an innocent mind. Sure not there saying, yes, I did this. I'm justified in doing this, and here's how I did it and why I did it. No. This is, I shot a 6-year-old in the face, shot her dad in the back, and then ran off to Florida. Yeah, fucking coward. But yeah, but the media, we can't have accidents. We can have an accident happen when it's a little girl gets shot in the car from an upper porch. We can have an accident when a couple of cheerleaders get shot because they went to the wrong car door. But this other guy, oh, no, 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 no. The 84-year-old man who's woken from a sound sleep couldn't be an accident. Clearly, premeditated evil white racism. That's all it is. Now, I don't know. If they search the guy's house and they find the whole Klan memorabilia thing, or if he's sitting there and he's been posting on social media, I hope I get to shoot an N-word today, fine. I'll buy in on the racism and I'll condemn him right along with the rest of y'all. But until we at least have some evidence that this was somewhat racially motivated, I think the media, I think the politicians, anyone who says, well, this is clearly a politically motivated or racially, there's clearly a significant racial component here. Really? Can two people have an accident? Two people meet in a weird accidental freak accident way and it not be racially motivated? This stuff's going to be the death of our country. It really is. It's going to cause more problems than it's worth. And from that standpoint, again, where do we go from here with it? You get this guy. I wonder how far this blows up. Let me know, because it would tell you. I was talking about this case at lunch today. I told you I had lunch with a couple of friends, old friends. We sat around, chowed down on a bunch of sushi. Definitely good stuff. And in our talk of the whole thing, they both knew all about the 16-year-old who was shot. They did not know about these other cases. I think one of them actually knew about the New York case, the upstate New York case. Now, I live in upstate South Carolina. This Gastonia case, man comes out, shoots 4 people in the front yard, and takes off on the lam. Now, to use the gun control advocates, this would be a mass shooting. Remember, 3 or more people wounded. 3 or more people wounded. Yeah, we hit that. So, with 3 or more people wounded, there was a mass shooter on the loose less than 100 miles from me. Media missed it. Totally missed it. This man was a mass shooter. And again, he took off. No one knew where he was. Was there a threat to the community? Well, we don't know. We're within 100 miles of a mass shooter. But it doesn't come out on the media. It's malpractice. It's lazy, garbage journalism. And, where do you go from here? Media needs to look in the heart, look in their soul, and get their shit together, because you wonder why people don't trust the mainstream media. Folks, I'm telling you right now. All righty. Let's deal with something a little bit more positive, because honestly, watching the video of that kid talking about, why'd they shoot my daddy? People shouldn't shoot kids' daddies. Wow. Media don't care. Where's the president to talk to her? Where's Kamala Harris to tell her, hey, it's okay?